talk a lot about coding in ThinkorSwim on this channel. It's kind of my niche on this website that we call YouTube. Well, today's video is going to delve a little deeper than we normally talk about. I normally just sit here, build things in front of you, give them to you, send you on your merry way. Today, you are going to learn a bit about how to plot advanced indicators yourself. We're going to go through some code together. Don't worry, I'm going to hold your hand. I take it pretty slow. This is still built like for beginners, so don't feel like you're going to be swamped or anything, but we are going to take a little bit more of a technical deep dive than we normally do. So hopefully you're ready, hopefully you're excited, and let's go. Let's go ahead and jump into a new study, and let's plot two moving averages on the chart. This is a little bit of a refresher from where we were at the end of the last course, where we did plot one moving average using a conditional statement. Let's go ahead and just showcase how we can combine multiple studies into one custom study as a little refresher. First things first, what do we do for good coding practice? We input the lengths of the moving averages. I'm going to go ahead and do a 20 and a 50 for this example. So I'm going to input my short MA variable, and I'm going to initialize that with a variable length of 20. And then we are going to declare a long MA variable initialized at a value of 50. Then, as you all know, we are going to plot. Then we're going to use the keyword plot to define our variable. Let's go ahead. We'll leave it named data. That's fine. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a simple moving average with a length equal to the short MA length variable container that we've already created. And then if we plot data 2, set equal to the simple moving AVG with a length equal to the long MA. This should now be our 20 SMA. This should now be our 50 SMA. And by the way, using the hash symbol is how you write comments in your code. I think I accidentally deleted my semicolon. This is how you write comments in your code. So the machine won't attempt to use whatever is written after a hash at all. It's simply how you can take notes within your code. You are currently getting a free section from my course, How to Code in ThinkorSwim. We are currently in Chapter 2, Section 1, Plotting Advanced Indicators. There are 35 other chapters in this course. So if you enjoy the video lesson you're watching today, there are once again over 35 others, as well as text lessons for every single one as well. So if you're interested in really hunkering down, changing your life, beginning to get into this game that is codified trading, head on over to my website, daytradingstrategies.net. It'll be linked in the description of this video down below. Click on course, get signed up today. If we go ahead and apply this, you should see a 20 and a 50 simple moving average plotted onto your chart. So plotting this 20 and 50 simple moving average, as I mentioned, sort of nothing but a refresher course on what we've already covered. So now in this section, let's really kick it up a notch. I want to plot signals on my chart when these conditions cross, when these simple moving averages cross. I want a arrow pointing up when the 20 SMA crosses above the 50 SMA, and down when the 20 SMA crosses below the 50 SMA. So what we're going to do is we're going to define these conditions. I'm going to define a buy signal as equal to when the 20 simple moving average, remember that we have initialized within the container that we named data, within the variable that we named data. So I can do data crosses above data 2. We haven't used this crosses above condition yet. All this is really doing is, instead of greater than, crosses above will only return true on the bar that our 20 simple moving average actually crosses, for lack of a better term, above our 50 simple moving average. And that's what I want in this instance, because I don't want the arrows plotted on every single bar that this SMA is above this SMA, right? I only want it on the bar in which it crosses. Then obviously, let's go ahead and define our sell signal as the opposite when the 20 crosses below the 50. So we've gone ahead and we've defined our buy signals. Now we need to plot the arrows. So we're going to need to use our conditional if statement. If buy signal is true, then we want to plot the low of the candle because we want the up arrow to be at the bottom of the candle where the bullish cross occurs, and vice versa for the sell signal. So we're going to come down. We're going to declare new variables. We're going to declare them with the keyword plot because, of course, we want them to show up on the charts. We will name this variable the buy arrow, and then we're going to initialize it with a conditional if statement, and we are just going to simply say if the buy signal is true. For that statement that I just said in English to translate to the computer, all you need to type in is if buy signal. The computer interprets this as if this value that you initialized the buy signal variable at is true, then it will do the following statement. Then the buy arrow will be plotted at low, which is what we want. Now, for the other half of this if conditional statement, I'm going to teach you something new. We don't want anything to be plotted. If on the current bar, the 20 simple moving average is not crossing above the 50 simple moving average, we want the plot variable to not do anything, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and type it out. What we are going to do is else .NaN. What this is called as a whole is dot notation. NaN stands for not a number. It is a predefined variable of the double data type. And when you are referencing something related to something else, so once again, not a number is predefined within the double data type. So we must reference that in order for the computer to understand what we are talking about. If we just typed in NaN, the computer doesn't know what NaN is unless we are referencing its host data type. We utilize dot notation to do that. If that doesn't make a whole lot of sense right now, first off, it's okay. Second off, in just a second here, I'm going to give another example of dot notation that'll make a lot more sense. Double dot NaN is really like one of the more confusing dot notations because you sort of just have to know what is within this data type to really understand it. And at the end of the day, I don't have any idea what is referenceable from every single data type. Of course not. I just have a small number of them memorized, double dot NaN being one of which, because it is extremely useful. So at the end of the day, if my whole explanation made no sense, but you can memorize that double dot NaN means that nothing will happen, you're good. You pretty much have the same level of knowledge that I have after 4+ years of doing this. So let's go ahead and jump down now and let's plot our sell arrow. Of course, if sell signal is true, then we want to plot at the high, else double dot not a number. This block of code that we just created here doesn't actually accomplish a whole lot. If I hit apply on this study right now, you'll notice nothing is plotting. Because all it says is, if buy signal is true, then plot low. Okay, if the 20 simple moving average crosses above the 50 simple moving average, you want the low value plotted, and vice versa, you want the high value plotted. What does that even mean, right? Well, now we are going to jump down and we are going to make use of a new type of function. So far within this whole course, whenever I have referenced functions, it has been study functions, right? It has been calling in indicators that exist out of the box within ThinkorSwim. Well, now we are going to introduce action functions. Action functions can be a little bit trickier than study functions because you cannot simply reference the study from within ThinkorSwim to learn the name and the parameters of it, correct? But what you can do, if I wanted to plot an arrow using ThinkScript like I do here, I can hop into Google, as you're seeing on your screen now, and I could type in plot arrow ThinkScript. You want to look for this ThinkorSwim Learning Center source, and you can click on the first link that pops up. Okay, what I'm getting here is the arrow up constant. But it gives you an example. Look, see the set painting strategy function in look and feel section. Okay, I want to see the function, so I would click on that, and this is the function we're looking to use, and this is the parameter we need to set, and then there is a list of constants that are accepted within that parameter. Do you see how useful the ThinkorSwim Learning Center is? You can really look up anything in that way, or really, if you want to learn more stuff, just click through all the options over here on the left. Every study function is under this studies library here under technical indicators. But if you want to learn what else is out there besides, once again, just the study functions, feel free to click through and learn in this way. We're going to use a lot more of these types of things throughout this course, but make use of the ThinkorSwim Learning Center, especially when it comes to finding the names and parameters of these action functions. Back within our code here, we are going to call that set painting strategy action function, right? But it needs to be in reference to something. It needs to know what it is setting the painting strategy for. You know how to do that? I think we know how to do that. We just talked about it. How do we reference data types? How do we reference what a function should be assigned to? Dot notation. So we want to set the painting strategy of the by arrow as that arrow up constant. The by arrow is plotting the low, remember, if we get our SMA cross. We need to tell now this variable what it should be plotting. That is what we are going to do with this line of code. So I'm going to type in by arrow dot set painting strategy. And if I open and close parentheses and end that line of code, this is the reference material, and this is the action function that now is being referenced to this by arrow plot variable, which is plotting the low if our previous plot of the 20 SMA crosses above our 50 SMA plot. Now, you're getting an error thrown here because there is no default value for the painting strategy parameter. I talked about how all the study functions have default values. That is not true for most, if not all, action functions. You have to tell the function what you want it to do. So we talked about this just a second ago. I literally just looked it up and went over it with you, what the arrow up function is. Now, the arrow up, it is also a constant, so it needs to be referenced to something. Constants in and of themselves, the machine won't know what you're talking about. If I just type arrow up in here, the machine doesn't know what I'm talking about because this is, once again, a predefined variable within the painting strategy parameter. Just like NaN is a predefined variable within the double data type, arrow up is a predefined variable within painting strategy. So we once again need to use dot notation to reference this painting strategy dot arrow up, and we have no errors. And if I hit apply, look at that. We've got an arrow up when the 20 simple moving average crosses above the 50 simple moving average. All right, off the back of that little rant there, hopefully that makes you feel a little bit better, because I know for a fact you're feeling overwhelmed right now. This is a lot of stuff being thrown at you. You have so much support out there, and this stuff and the verbiage I'm using doesn't have to be memorized. You just have to know how to do it. And as you do it, I promise you, it'll get easier. Let's go ahead and wrap this up by setting the painting strategy for the sell arrow as arrow underscore down. Once again, referencing this constant within the painting strategy parameter. I probably spelt something wrong. I forgot the I in painting. That happens to me a lot. Once again, referencing the constant arrow dot, and I didn't type arrow dot down. There goes me trying to code and talk at the same time. Referencing the constant arrow down to the painting strategy parameter, referencing the painting strategy parameter to the sell arrow variable. Now, let's go ahead actually and hit apply, just ensure it is working correctly. And it is. When you get that 20 simple moving average crossing down, you get the down arrow plotted at the high. When it crosses up, you get the up arrow plotted at the low. Let me give you one more example while we're working in this code to really hammer this point home of an action function. We kind of can't see these arrows. They're very small, right? Don't worry, ThinkorSwim has an action function to fix that. Once again, it needs to be referenced to the plot that we are looking to change. So if I'm going to reference the by arrow using dot notation so that the action function I'm about to call knows which plot it should be changing, I'm going to call in the function setLineWeight. This accepts a parameter, I think it's like 1 through 9 or something, that will determine the thickness of the plot. I'm going to set mine equal to 3. And if I go ahead and hit apply now, you will see that arrow get a little bit bigger. Let's go ahead and just do the same thing quickly for the sell arrow. If I can talk and type at the same time this time, nice. Also gets a little bit thicker. Once again, how do we know the name and function of this parameter? We looked it up within the ThinkorSwim Learning Center. Well, remember, I have this memorized. I've used this so much, I just have it memorized and can type it in, and I promise you, you will get there. Right now, you're intaking a ton of information. That's the point of a course, right? I want to give you as much information as possible for what you are signed up for here, right? But I promise you, you'll have this memorized eventually. But until you do, you can look up something like, how do I change the size of a plot using ThinkScript? This will pop up. You click on it, you get the name of the function, you get the parameter of the function. And guess what? This one's not telling you to use constants. This one's not giving you a list of constants. So you know you don't have to reference a constant as the function. And it's giving you a very nice and clean example here so you can see how you should use it. Congratulations, you just finished your first complex code. I told you all this was called plotting advanced indicators. Can I take a second here to just walk through each block of code so that we can fully understand and recap what is going on here? Using good coding practices, we initialized our values at the top of our code by declaring inputs, naming the variable short MA and long MA, and initializing them with the values of 20 and 50. We then declared 2 data points as plots so that they will plot on the charts, and initialized these variables named data and data2 with the simple moving average function with a parameter of length set equal to the variables that we defined at the top that were initialized with the values of both 20 and 50. This is plotting the 20 and 50 simple moving average on our charts. Then we wanted to define what our buy and sell conditions were, so we declared a buy signal and a sell signal with the keyword define. Because we don't need these to plot, these are simply so that they can be referenced within our plots later. And we defined our buy signal with the variable named data, which represents the simple moving average that we initialized under that variable data before, as the 20 simple moving average crosses above the data2, which is once again the variable we initialized as the 50 simple length moving average. Vice versa for the sell signal. Then it came time to plot that. Okay, we have our buy signal and sell signal. Now we want to plot. So declaring variables buy arrow and sell arrow, both with the keyword plot, we used a conditional if statement. If the buy signal is true, then we want to have a plot at the low of the candle. And if it's not, then we want nothing to happen. And we made nothing happen by being introduced to dot notation. We used not a number, and in order to use not a number, we had to reference the data type it was stored in, which is double. We did that for both the buy signal when it crosses above and the sell signal when it crosses below. We wanted to plot at the high, else have nothing happen. Then we had to tell these plots what they should look like, because at this point in the code, we weren't actually plotting anything, right? We were just plotting the low value and the high value, which already exist on the chart. So we utilized our first ever action function called the set painting strategy, but we once again had to utilize dot notation to let the function know what it was setting the painting strategy for, right? Then, within the set painting strategy, the accepted parameter is a painting strategy constant. The arrow up constant, once again, is stored within the painting strategy parameter. So we had to reference that in order for the machine to know what this data was actually in reference to. So painting strategy dot arrow up, this was for the buy arrow, painting strategy dot arrow down for the sell arrow. Then we could barely see the arrows. We wanted to make them a little bit thicker. So once again, using an action function of set line weight in reference to buy arrow, we set the line weight parameter to 3 to make it slightly thicker. Once again, set line weight in reference to sell arrow, set the parameter to 3 to make it slightly thicker. Did you think we were done? We're not. We're going to build a whole nother study within this section so that I may introduce you all to another concept. I have an idea for a study where I want to plot the current RSI on whichever time frame I'm looking at, plus the daily RSI. I think this will help give me a good idea when I'm looking at an intraday chart of what the current trend plus the daily trend is equal to really show me combined either strength or weakness. So I'm going to be plotting a current RSI plus daily RSI. Remember, RSI is best viewed from the lower section of our studies. What do we do in our code when we want something to be at the lower section of our studies? We make the first line of that code declare lower semicolon. Now, what I'm going to do just to improve readability of this code, I'm going to define a variable named current RSI, and I'm simply going to set it equal to the RSI function. I didn't say when I was requesting this code that I was requesting any special RSI parameters, so we will simply just open and close parentheses, which of course uses the default parameters of the RSI. Now we need to define the daily RSI, and this is where we get to have some fun with the parameters of this function. Let me just go ahead quickly and just type in RSI by default here so that I can go out and look at our RSI study, right? Remember, this is the easiest way to see our study function parameters straight through the study settings itself. We need to calculate this RSI off of the price of its closing bar. We're happy for it to still use price, but we don't want it calculating the price off of whichever time frame we are currently looking at. If it's not obvious enough already, if I haven't made this obvious, the RSI will automatically be defined according to whichever time frame we are looking on. If you don't specifically set a time frame, the ThinkScript code will auto adjust its calculations to whatever time frame you are looking at, which is actually a really, really nice feature of ThinkorSwim. It makes code so that you don't have to update it every single time you want to go look at a new time frame or create dozens of different codes for different time frames. It's a really nice feature. But for the study we want to create, once again, if we're on the 5-minute time frame, we want to see the 5-minute RSI plus the daily RSI. So we need to find a way to have this second RSI calculated at the daily price level, the daily close level. Well, how do we do that? How do we figure out how that parameter set would work? Remember that our price data points represented by each candle, open, close, high, and low, have no required parameters. Therefore, you don't have to put the open and close parentheses after this function. It is a predefined function, so you do not have to define parameters. But it does have a list of parameters. So let's dive into the ThinkScript help page of close to see if there is a way that we can have our RSI price calculating off of the close of the daily bar, no matter which time frame we're looking at. On the ThinkorSwim Learning Center for the close function, we can see that there is a parameter for period, which is returning the current aggregation. It defines the aggregation period for which the close price is returned. That sounds like something we may be able to take advantage of. And up here, you can see if you read the description, you can use both aggregation period constants and predefined string variables, day, week, blah, 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 as valid parameters for the aggregation function. Let's go ahead and take a look at what these aggregation period constants are. Guess what? There is one for day. If we come in and click, you can see the syntax aggregation period day defines the aggregation period equal to 1 day or 86,400,000 milliseconds. That's good to know. Thank you, ThinkorSwim. And you can see here how you would set that up. Aggregation period dot day, then you could call that in as your parameter for the close function. So hopping back into our RSI parameters, we now know that there is a function within RSI for price that is set equal to close. Then we know that the close function, or should I say fundamental predefined data type, has an input parameter of aggregation period that we should be able to call to have the RSI's price based off of the daily close, no matter which time frame we're looking at. So if I hop back into my code here, remember, price was not the first parameter of RSI. That would be out of order if I were to just type in close. Therefore, we have to define that parameter with a price. Please don't autofill for me, ThinkorSwim. Price equals close. Great. That is an accepted no error line of code. But we want to see the close aggregation period set today. So we are going to go ahead and open parentheses on our close data type here. And remember, period was also the second parameter within close. So we also need to define it. And then remember, there's a lot of remembering here, but remember that aggregation period was a reference point to the constant of day. I can't just type day in here and have it work because the machine doesn't know what that means unless it knows that it is referencing the aggregation period data type. Now, of course, in our plot, or what we want to actually show in the lower study section, is our current RSI variable. Remember that we saved as just whatever the current time frame's RSI is, plus the daily RSI value, which will now return to you whatever the RSI is on the daily chart. If we go ahead and hit apply, we should see that working as expected. Hit apply on the chart to get the common RSI to go away. We are now looking at our 5-minute RSI plus the daily RSI at 118. Note, if I change to 1 minute, that will change because the 1 minute RSI is different. We are now looking at 105, 103 as it ticks around here. Understanding how to set the aggregation period on a fundamental function such as close is an extremely powerful tool in your ThinkScript coding education, and we will be using it a lot more throughout the rest of this course. All right, you all were hit with a ton of information in this one. Probably deserve a coffee break after this video. Thank you for watching this video to this point. Remember, once again, you just watched the video lesson from 1 out of 36 sections available in my course, How to Code in ThinkorSwim. So if you're interested in learning more, head on over to the website in the link in the description down below, daytradingstrategies.net. Click on course, get signed up today. Hit like if you learned something, subscribe if you would like to learn more. With all that being said, I'll catch you all in the next one.